Hey guys, so I am doing a VR. This is a tag that's called My Favorite Majors. And I've seen a lot of people do this. The first person who brought it to my attention was Tara from Kittensweightsandtarot. And I think she did this like last summer. And I had been meaning to do it and just completely forgot. And then Samantha Menzo recently did it and reminded me. So here I am. I will find the original channel who did this tag, and I will be sure to link them down below so that they get credit for creating it. But it is called My Favorite Majors, and it's basically where you go through the decks in your collection and you pull out your favorite major cards. I will say there are more than 22 cards in this pile, just because some of them I honestly couldn't decide. So there's a few like honorable mentions. But first we have the Fool. This is from the Dark Days Tarot. And the reason why I picked this one is just because it kind of reminds me of how I sort of jumped into motherhood. It was very much a fool moment in my life. It was just a we're gonna leap into this and hope for the best, and it will all work out. And here we go. That is just basically the epitome of how I entered motherhood for sure, but also this just makes me feel so happy looking at it. I love it so much. The next one is the Magician. This is from the Moonchild Tarot. And first of all, I really enjoy this one because I think he is quite handsome. Second of all, in the guidebook, it says that he is sitting at the gate of the astral realm. And I talked about this several times before, I think, on my channel and a few other videos. I don't know why, but something about that just really struck a chord with me for the Magician. And I love it. Like, it's just something that has always stuck with me, so this is my favorite Magician card. Then we have the High Priestess. This is also from the Moonchild Tarot. Mostly, aside from the general aesthetic of this image, I really enjoy her expression. I think it just kind of says it all. And that's really the biggest thing that gets to me about this, is just her expression. She's very much, like, she is looking into your soul, and it's fantastic, and I love it so much. It's everything that makes me think of the High Priestess. This is the Empress. This is from the Wild Unknown Tarot. And the reason why I have this one is because it's a sentimental Empress card for me. This was my card of the year that my mother passed away. And it wasn't by numerology. This is the card that I drew from the deck for my card of the year. And in the guidebook for the Wild Unknown Tarot, it says go outside and find the moon. And I spent that whole year in grief, and just I kept being reminded of that image or that saying oftentimes when I was feeling particularly raw in my emotions. So this one's just very special to me. But also when it comes to aesthetics for the Empress, I really enjoyed this one. This is from the Starchild Tarot, and I just think she is beautiful, kind of encompassing a lot of what I love to see from the Empress. So I really had to choose that one for aesthetic purposes. This is the Emperor. This is from the Anima Mundi Tarot. And the Emperor was kind of hard for me to find cards that I really connected with for the Emperor. I think because I tend to resist the Emperor quite a bit, and I think it's kind of a shadow card for me. But this one I really enjoyed. This just beautiful cedar that's just standing tall in this forest. I don't know, something about it I really enjoyed. And then this is the Hierophant. This is from the Santa Muerte Tarot. I love this Hierophant card for very obvious reasons. I just love the fact that he has a Ouija board. I love that he's in the position where he's kind of got as above so below going on with his hands. I don't know, I just love it. It's an awesome Hierophant card. this is the Lovers from Moon Crystal Tarot. This is a Sailor Moon inspired deck. As you guys know, I love Sailor Moon. I have a Sailor Moon inspired tattoo, as you can see here. And this is from, you have Sailor Venus here, who is the Sailor Warrior of Love and her, you know, of her planet as well. And then you have Luna and Artemis, who are kind of like the lover characters in the show, aside from the two main love interests, of course. But I just love them so much. They're so cute. The next one for the Chariot is from the Spacious Tarot, and I just love the movement of the river. This is not something I would have ever thought for the Chariot, but when I saw this image, I was like, yes, this is the Chariot. This is incredible, and I just love it. And then we have Strength, which this is from the Marigold Tarot. I love this image of strength mostly because it really kind of depicts that looking into ourselves and facing our own strength. And I just love the position of the skeleton holding the skull and kind of gazing at it deeply. And there's just a lot to be said with this one. Strength was hard for me to choose too, because there were quite a few that I did enjoy. Here we have the Hermit. This is from the Sassorobito Tarot, and honestly, whenever I get Hermit vibes, this tends to be a scene or an image that pops up in my head of where I would prefer to go, and it just really kind of resonated with my personality and what I tend to visualize. Honorable mention, here is the Hermit card from the Moon Crystal Tarot. This is Sailor Pluto. She is my favorite character in the whole series, and the reason why she is titled the Hermit in this is because she lives in solitude at the gate of time, guarding it for all eternity, or at least that's how she is when you come across her first. So yeah, I just really like that a lot. Next is the Wheel of Fortune from the Spacious Tarot. As you can see, all the 4 seasons are depicted here with the spiral in the middle. And I just really loved it just for the very obvious reasons that I love the fact that the seasons change. My card of the year actually is the Wheel of Fortune, so looking at this just kind of makes me realize that change is consistent. So yeah, I liked that depiction. For Justice, it was really hard for me. I really wanted to try and find a Justice card where she just looked so fierce, and who better to represent justice and those balance of the scales other than Santa Muerte herself. So here she is, and she's got her scales, and I just think it's perfect. The Hangman was also really hard because honestly, I associate the Hangman with Odin pretty frequently, mostly because of his whole hanging from Yggdrasil to gain the knowledge of the runes, and I could not find any of my decks that really depicted that the way that I wanted to. However, I did find one that I just enjoyed the imagery overall, and this is from the Ember and Aura Tarot. I just like how she's suspended, but she looks peaceful. Like, she's doing this, but she's getting the answers that she needs. She's getting her perspective, and that's another thing that I tend to gravitate towards when it comes to looking at the Hanged Man. Next is Death. Death was also hard because there are a lot of depictions of death that I enjoy, but this is probably my absolute favorite death card. This is from the Moonchild Tarot, and I just love her position. I love how she's open and receptive, and she's just willing to let go of what does not serve her anymore, and she's freeing herself. She's exploring that transformation, and it's a really empowering perspective on the death card. Next was Temperance. Temperance was also really difficult for me just because most depictions of temperance I have in my decks aren't quite what I need or quite what I'm looking for, but this is from the Dark Days Tarot, and honestly I mostly picked it just because I like the scenery, I like the aesthetic of it, I like the fact that the moon phases are in here, kind of showing that we're still depicting more and more balance, which is kind of what all temperance is about, is balance, and that kind of alchemical exchange and whatnot. So that was what I picked for temperance. The devil was also extremely difficult for me. The only other one that was a top contender was from the Spacious Tarot, which I maybe should have pulled it out, but I ended up picking this one. This is from the Solaris Tarot. This is a Star Wars inspired deck. So here you have Kylo Ren, and he's kind of immersed in these chains, but some of them it appears that he could get out, and that very much is a testament to Kylo Ren's character. If you've seen those movies and you kind of watch his character development through them, where he does end up freeing himself and kind of becoming who he truly is. And most of the series of the 3 movies, you see him really struggle with that, where he struggles kind of coming out of where he thinks he is chained, and then it just kind of all changes. I did not explain that as well as I hope, but for you Star Wars words nerds, hopefully you see this card and you kind of see what I'm seeing with the devil. But I just really liked it, and Alithian's artwork is so beautiful. So that's the devil from the Solaris Tarot. Next we have the Tower. This is from Anima Mundi, and this one makes me think of Mount St. Helens. That's actually the biggest reason why I picked it. And although Mount St. Helens, the eruption, happened in Washington State a good 7 years before I was born, my mother and my father told me a lot of just how it changed so much, and it was such a uprooting of everything, and it changed. They lost friends, people disappeared. It was a very big thing. And I just remember the experiences that my parents had with it and just them telling me about it. And so I don't know why I just connected with that, with the tower. And I just really like this image of that as well. So yeah, it's the Tower. The Star is also really difficult for me to pick a card just because it's my birth card, astrologically being an Aquarius. But this is from the Spacious Tarot, and I just love the looking through the trees up at the stars, and that one star just kind of glowing and giving us hope. And this is something that I tend to do when I feel lost, is look up at the stars, and I feel less alone. So I think that's, something that I just really connected with when I saw that. It's kind of interesting going through these because you examine parts of yourself. The Moon has more than one card in here because I honestly couldn't pick, guys. The Moon is another one of my favorite major arcana. This is from the Lightseers Tarot. And this is actually the biggest reason why I purchased this deck, was because of this depiction of the Moon card. I love that she's submerged in water, and I just find this so immersive, this image. It's kind of how I feel the Moon card affects me on an emotional level. So I don't know, I just really enjoyed that one. And then this one from the aesthetic purpose of just the shadow and the light of the moon on the water and all that stuff. This is from the Anima Mundi again, and I don't know, I just, for image purpose, aesthetic purpose, it's just beautiful. And then this one is also the Moon, and this is from the Santa Muerte Tarot, which is another like jarring image. If you can see, she's looking in the water, and you can see like her ghostly image as in her reflection. And this one, it just honestly gives you a lot to think about. There's a lot to unpack in that image. But this is the Sun from the Lightseers Tarot, and I just like how freeing and warmth it gives, just with her bare feet standing in the grass and she's embracing the sun. It makes me think of those moments where we need to step out and feel the sun's warmth and how healing the sun can be. So that's why I chose that one. This is Judgment from the Sassurabito Tarot. I love that she's emerging from blankets, because trust me, as a person with a chronic illness, I tend to be like this a lot. Or, as a person with mental health issues as well, this tends to be me on days where I cannot deal with life or anything. And coming out of that, coming back from that is huge. So I think that's why this image really resonated with me, is just her coming out of those blankets and just being like, okay, I can face this now. I can do this. And this is another image of Judgment from the Light Seers Tarot. I just like the release going on here. I look at this and it's almost like emerging from something horrible to something beautiful. And I don't know, it's harder to really kind of put this one into words, but when I think of Judgment, I definitely think of this card as well pretty frequently. And lastly, we have the World or the Universe titled in the Moonchild Tarot. This is my favorite depiction of the world. It's just, I love it so much. Her standing among the stars, and she's got it cradled in her hands, and she's just looking out at the universe, and there's just that sense of completion that we get from the world. So those are my favorite majors. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and as always, blessed be.